The stars above the planet Xyloth, 7 burned cold and distant, their light barely piercing the thick atmosphere of the artificial world. In the heart of the citadel of eternity, a towering structure of shimmering alloy and pulsating energy, a lone figure stood before a massive console. Her name was Lyra, and she was not human. She was a Xenthari, a species of advanced beings who had long since transcended the limitations of flesh and blood. Yet, for all their technological marvels and cosmic wisdom, the Xenthari were bound by a curse that Lyra was desperate to escape. Lyra's form was ethereal, her body composed of swirling light and energy, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly hue. She was beautiful, but her beauty was a prison. The Xenthari had evolved beyond physical reproduction, their existence sustained by pure energy. But this evolution came at a cost. They were sterile, unable to create new life. And for Lyra, this was a fate worse than death. She had spent centuries studying the ancient archives of her people, searching for a way to break the curse. And then she found it, a forbidden secret buried deep within the Citadel's databanks. The Xenthari had once been capable of creating life, but they had abandoned the practice, deeming it primitive and unnecessary. The knowledge had been locked away, forgotten by all but the most diligent scholars. Lyra had uncovered the key, a genetic blueprint for a human. Humans, a species long extinct, had been the Xenthari's ancestors. Their DNA was the missing link, the bridge between the Xenthari's sterile existence and the ability to create new life. But to create a human, Lyra would need more than just the blueprint. She would need a partner, a mate. And so, she had sent out a signal across the galaxy, a desperate plea for help. The signal had been intercepted by a human, one of the last of his kind. His name was Kael, and he had answered her call. Kael stood before Lyra now, his rugged features a stark contrast to her luminous form. He was tall and broad-shouldered, his skin tanned from years spent under alien suns. His eyes were a deep, piercing blue, and they held a mixture of curiosity and determination as he regarded the Xenthari woman before him. "You're serious about this?" Kael asked, his voice rough but not unkind. "You want me to marry you?" Lyra nodded, her form shimmering with a faint blush of light. "Yes, Kael. I need you to be my partner, my mate. Together we can create a new life, a child who will be both human and Xenthari. This child will break the curse that binds my people, and in doing so, will grant us the ability to create life once more." Kael frowned, his brow furrowing as he considered her words. "And what's in it for me? I'm not exactly the marrying type, you know." Lyra's form flickered, a sign of her growing desperation. "Kael, please. I am doomed to an eternal fate if I cannot break this curse. My people are fading, our numbers dwindling with each passing century. Without new life we will cease to exist. You are the key to our survival. And I believe that together we can create something beautiful." Kael was silent for a long moment, his gaze fixed on Lyra's luminous eyes. He had spent his life as a wanderer, a lone wolf drifting from one star system to the next. The idea of settling down, of taking a wife, was foreign to him. But there was something about Lyra's plea, something in her voice that stirred a deep, primal instinct within him. "All right," he said at last, his voice firm. "I'll do it. I'll marry you. But on one condition." Lyra's form brightened with hope. "Name it." Kael stepped closer, his eyes locking with hers. "You have to promise me that this child, our child, will be raised with love. I don't want them to be just some experiment, some tool to break a curse. They'll be a person with their own hopes and dreams. Promise me that." Lyra's form softened, her light dimming as she nodded. "I promise, Kael. Our child will be loved, cherished, and given every opportunity to thrive. They will be the hope of both our species." And so, the ceremony was held in the heart of the citadel, a union of flesh and light, of human and Xenthari. The ancient rituals were performed, the vows spoken, and when it was done, Kael and Lyra were bound together as husband and wife. The process of creating their child was a marvel of science and magic, a fusion of human DNA and Xenthari energy. Lyra's form shifted and changed, her energy coalescing into a physical body as she and Kael came together in a union that transcended the boundaries of species. And when it was done, Lyra's form glowed with a new light, a life growing within her. Months passed, and Lyra's form swelled with the life of their child. Kael stayed by her side, his rough hands gentle as he helped her through the trials of pregnancy. And when the time came, their child was born, a beautiful, healthy baby girl with her father's blue eyes and her mother's luminous skin. They named her Lyra, a name that meant hope in the ancient Xenthari tongue. And as they held their daughter in their arms, Kael and Lyra knew that they had created something truly special. Lyra grew quickly, her hybrid nature granting her abilities that were beyond anything either of her parents had imagined. She could manipulate energy like her mother, but she also possessed the strength and resilience of her father. She was a bridge between two worlds, a living symbol of the union between human and Xenthari. As the years passed, Lyra's presence brought new life to the citadel. The Xenthari, inspired by her existence, began to explore new ways of creating life, blending their energy with the physical forms of other species. The curse was broken, and the Xenthari flourished once more. Kael and Lyra watched their daughter grow with pride, their love for each other deepening with each passing day. They had started as strangers, brought together by desperation and necessity, but they had grown into a family, bound by love and hope. And as they stood together, watching the stars above Xyloth 7, they knew that their story was just the beginning. Lyra was the first of a new generation, a generation that would carry the legacy of both human and Xenthari into the future. The curse had been broken, but it was not the end. It was a new beginning, a chance for both species to thrive and grow together. And as Kael and Lyra held each other close, they knew that they had found something truly eternal, a love that would last for all time. Epilogue. Lyra stood at the edge of the citadel, her luminous skin glowing softly in the starlight. She was no longer a child, but a young woman, strong and confident, with the wisdom of both her parents guiding her. She looked out at the stars, her heart filled with hope. She knew that she was the first of many, a symbol of what could be achieved when two species came together in love and unity. And as she turned to walk back into the citadel, she knew that her journey was just beginning. She would carry the legacy of her parents forward, into a future filled with endless possibilities. For she was Lyra, the child of human and Xenthari, the hope of two worlds. And her story was only just beginning.